Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to the Two for Tuesday podcast, brought to you by Second Round Music. I'm your host, Michael Prezent, your companion through the back roads of music history, where songs aren't just songs, they're maps, diaries, weather reports of the heart. Today, we're spending time with a songwriter who could make a single melody feel like a horizon, Gordon Lightfoot. We'll trace the arc that carried him from coffeehouse folk poet to international storyteller. And then we'll pull the lens tight on two poles of his craft. Sundown, a taunt radio-sized confession that became his lone U.S. #1 hit, and the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, a 6+ minute ballad of loss that turned a Great Lakes tragedy into a living memorial. Gordon Meredith Lightfoot Jr. was born November 17, 1938. in Aurelia, Ontario. His father ran a local dry cleaning business, and his mother, Jessie Thrill Lightfoot, saw early in him a tenderness for music and nurtured it. From grade school onward, Gordon was drawn to sound, and at the age of 9 or 10, he sang Tooralooraloora through the school PA system during a Parents' Day event, and that was his first public performance. Now, he became active in the choir at St. Paul's United Church under choir master Ray Williams, who taught him not simply to sing notes, but let them carry feeling. Williams would later be a touchstone. Gordon credited him for helping him develop confidence in his voice. As a boy soprano, he also performed in operettas and on local radio stations. He also entered a Kiwanis Festival competition. And at the age of 12, after winning a contest for boys whose voices had not yet changed, he made his first appearance in Toronto's Massey Hall, a symbolic moment, considering how many times later that he would actually perform there. In adolescence, Gordon learned piano and experimented with drums and percussions, and he taught himself how to play the guitar. Now, he gigged locally at the Muskoka resorts and small venues, singing for a couple of beers and honing what it means to carry your voice over ambient noise. He absorbed folk standards and early influences, Stephen Foster among them, and began writing also. One of his earliest known songs was the Hula Hoop Song back in 1957, which he pitched to BMI Records. The rejection sharpened rather than discouraged him. Now, in 1958, restless and ambitious, Gordon traveled to Los Angeles to study jazz composition orchestration at the Westlake College of Modern Music. And he spent about 2 years there, absorbing harmonic language, arranging skills, and songwriting discipline. Now, while he was in California, he worked behind the scenes. He did demo vocals, and he wrote jingles. He did some studio work, and this was all to support himself. But home was pulling him back. And in 1960, he returned to Toronto, and he joined vocal ensembles such as the Singing Swinging Eight on CBC Country Hoedown and the Gino Silvey Singers, where he carved his path in folk coffeehouses. He also formed a duo, the Two Tones, with a guy by the name of Terry Whelan, and they recorded a live album, Two Tones at the Village Corner, in 1962. Now, during these years, his songs began to find other voices. Early Morning Rain, For Loving Me, and Ribbon of Darkness, among others, were covered by prominent acts. Names like Peter, Paul, and Mary, Judy Collins, and Marty Robbins. Now, these covers extended his reach long before his recordings broke through, and by the 1960s, Gordon signed with United Artists, and he released a debut LP, Gordon, in 1966, anchoring his dual identity as performer and songwriter. Now, that formative arc from church choir to studio classes in L.A., from local gigs to songs covered by international artists, all of these things prepared Gordon to handle the weight of songs like Sundown and Edmund Fitzgerald. And before we get into the song breakdown, give a listen to this sponsored message, and I'll catch you on the other side. Are you ready to take control of your finances and build a brighter future? Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired, feeling broke all the time? My name is Michael Pazent, a certified master coach, and I created Second Round Financial to provide personalized financial coaching based on the proven principles of Dave Ramsey's 7 Baby Steps. Our services include, but are not limited to, one-on-one financial coaching through Zoom conference or face-to-face, budgeting strategies, debt reduction plans, emergency fund creation, retirement planning, and investment guidance. Well, why choose us? Because we believe in empowering our clients with the knowledge and tools they need to achieve financial peace. With our guidance, you'll gain clarity over your financial situation, develop a realistic and achievable plan, and experience hope and confidence in your financial future. I have over 15 years' experience teaching and guiding families in the Ramsey Principles, along with a degree in finance and work experience in the banking and insurance industries. So let's get started today. Go to secondroundfinancial.com and click Book Now to schedule your free consultation today. Now, by 1973, Gordon had evolved. He had moved beyond folk purity. His songs were growing richer, more electric, and more radio aware. And in November of that year, he went into the Eastern Sound Studios in Toronto to record what would become the Sundown album. Now, when Sundown, the song, was released, March 25th of 1974, it hit with precision. A taut, moody confession wrapped in a melody. The lyrics smoldered with suspicion. Sundown, you better take care if I find you been creeping around my back stairs. It's not an overt accusation. The narrator attempts to control by vigilance. And in interviews and biographical reading, listeners have long tied the emotional center to a relationship with Kathy Smith, whom Gordon acknowledged as an influence in that area. Now hang on to that name of Kathy Smith for a moment. Now he didn't always entangle fact from fiction in print, but the emotional truth is powerful.
I could see her lying back in her sitting dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Sundown, you better take care if I find you been creeping around my back stairs. Sundown, you
Now, in the
better
early
take
1970s, Gordon became involved with a woman by the name of Kathy Smith. Now, that's a figure whose life would thread through multiple musical worlds, and later, tragic headlines. Smith was more than a flirtation. She worked as a backup singer for Gordon and was deeply intertwined in the emotional turmoil that fueled Sundown. According to accounts, their relationship was volatile. Gordon himself once admitted, "I was sometimes crazy with jealousy." And in one violent episode, he actually fractured Smith's cheekbone. Now, Smith's history connected beyond Gordon. And in the 1960s, she moved in circles tied to Levon Helms and the band. Now, she claimed to have met Helms while still a youth in Hamilton, Ontario, and at one point believed herself to be carrying a child of his, and could have been by other members of the band. Though the paternity was never definitely established, they actually called the child the band baby. Now, she toured and socialized with members of the band, and her presence has been tied to the lore surrounding The Wait, one of the band's most famous songs, though she was never credited formally. Now, later, Smith relocated to Los Angeles, drifting into much darker orbits. She became a known figure in the entertainment's undercurrent, working as a drug courier, a drug dealer, and a confidant to high-profile musicians. Her most notorious act, however, linked her to John Belushi. And in 1982, Smith admitted that she injected Belushi with a fabled dose of a speedball, which is heroin and cocaine combined. And she did this in a hotel in West Hollywood. Now, some accounts I actually read said that it was not just one speedball, it was 11. And that fatal act led to her conviction for involuntary manslaughter. And she served time in a California penitentiary before being deported back to Canada. Now, in retrospective interviews, Gordon made no secret that Smith's emotional presence haunted Sundown. Their relationship was a crucible of suspicion, longing, and volatility, elements embedded in the lyrics of that song. The recording personnel on Sundown, well, it's lean and potent. Gordon himself played a 12-string acoustic, and he sang lead vocals. Red Shea was on electric lead, Terry Clements on acoustic lead, John Stockfish on bass, Jim Gordon on drums, all engineered by Lee Herzberg. The arrangements let space matter. Guitars breathe, and the voice rides quietly confident, and the rhythm section holds just enough tension to suggest unrest without unraveling. And on the charts, Sundown soared. It reached number 1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 chart and on the Easy Listening chart, and it also climbed to number 13 on the U.S. Hot Country charts. And in Canada, it climbed to the top spot on the RPM Singles chart. In the UK, it peaked at number 33. And for 1974's year-end Hot 100, Sundown landed at number 27. And it remains Gordon's only U.S. number 1 hit. Its success marked a turning point. Gordon was no longer just admired in folk circles. He was part of popular musical conversation.
The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down to the big lake they call Gitchagoo. Lake, it is said, never gives up its dead when the skies of November turn gloomy.
Now, by late 1975, Gordon, now confident, turned outward. And on November 10th, hey, that's my dad's birthday, the U.S. Edmund Fitzgerald sank in a fierce storm on Lake Superior, with the loss of all 29 crew members. Now, he had read about this in a Newsweek article, specifically a piece named The Cruelest Month, which was November 24th, 1975. And that quoted the Chippewa belief that the lake never gives up her dead. Now, that line lodged in him, and it became the hinge for the song. And he began writing almost immediately. And in December of 1975, he entered Eastern Sound again in Toronto with his regular band. The haunting guitar and the steel riffs that framed this song were born in the evening session's second take, credited to Terry Clements and Pee Wee Charles. Notably, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald was recorded on a prototype 3M 32-track digital recorder, making it one of the first commercially digital multi-track recordings. Now, Gordon adopted a 6/8 meter to invoke the sway of the water and composed a B mixolydian, both choices giving a melody of mourning and maritime gait. He alternates narrative verses and recurring instrumental refrains, each ripple between voice and echo. Now, lyrically, Gordon balances detail with difference. He narrates the ship's departure, the storm's escalation, radio calls, and the final moments. And he includes poetic lines like, "Does anyone know where the love of God goes when the waves turn the minutes to hours?" While some early versions had lines that implied crew error, for example, the hatch failure. In later life performances, Gordon offered alternate, softening the blame and adjusting the evolving evidence and family sensitivity. He also shifted image wording. Musty Old Hall became Rustic Old Hall to respect those connected with the Mariners Church in Detroit. Now, when the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald was released in August of 1976 from the Summertime Dream album, it resonated. And in Canada, it reached number 1 on the RPM's national singles chart. In the U.S., it climbed to number 2 on Billboard, stopped only by the number 1 of Rod Stewart's Tonight's the Night, and it was a number 1 hit on something called Cashbox. Internationally, it charted modestly, number 40 in the UK. Though long and unconventional for radio, it became one of Gordon's most beloved songs, and he often called it his finest work. Hey guys, thank you for listening today, and I hope you're enjoying this podcast. If you are, please subscribe or follow the podcast. Click the like button, share it with other music lovers, and please consider giving it a 5-star rating so we can reach a bigger audience. Now back to the show. Place this pair side by side. Sundown is dusk, a private suspicion. Edmund Fitzgerald is November on the Lake and a public eulogy. Yet both carry Gordon's signature. The patience of phrasing, the spare but precise imagery, and trust given to silence. The early songs of his youth, choir lines, performance competitions, and rehearsal rooms, jazz theory in L.A., early covers, this all formed muscles in him, and it showed up in these songs as restraint and strength. In Sundown, he bends toward brevity, toward economy, because the emotional kernel is small, but it's volatile. And in Edmund Fitzgerald, he expands it, letting the narrative breathe, letting instrumentation be a halo and an echo. Throughout both, the voice is steady, not heroic, but lucid, bearing weight without collapsing. Perhaps most importantly, those early years when a boy sang in a choir, taught himself the guitar, and traveled to L.A., returning to build his own scene, gave him a strong foundation. He knew how to listen, how to refine, how to tell a story without pushing too hard. Those lessons echo in each chord, each phrase, and each line left unsaid. Well, that's going to do it for today's 2 for Tuesday podcast, brought to you by Second Round Music. If this walk through Gordon Lightfoot's life and music moved you, hit the subscribe button, drop us a rating, and share it with someone who loves songs with depth. And head on over to the Second Round Music YouTube channel. I've got a Gordon tribute performance waiting for you, so go check it out. And until next time, remember, we love you and we need you, and every song has a place, every life a song. See you next week, and God bless you.